Welcome everyone! In this video, we are going to be diving into my top 5 best teams for the Great League. Season 15 is approaching at the time of recording this video. It is set to drop tomorrow afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world, at the normal time that leagues typically reset. And with a new season, of course, comes some meta shifts. And some things have shifted around a little bit in the Great League, but ironically, does it change too much from last season? Some things have changed, but not a whole lot as a whole. But we do welcome the changes. So you will see a lot of familiar teams on this list. A lot of the newly buffed Pokemon did not actually make any of these teams, but don't worry. If you're watching this and hoping to see some of the newly buffed Pokemon on some of these teams, don't worry, don't fret. I'm going to be releasing some best teams lists for each of the now newly meta-relevant Pokemon in the coming days. I might get another one out today and over the next couple of days or so. So don't worry, you're going to see those newly buffed Pokemon on some Great League teams, just to get the juices flowing for you in terms of preparing for Season 15 of Go Battle League. So without further ado, let's dive right into these teams. All right, kicking things off, we got team number 1 making a triumphant return from last season's top 5 best teams list. Now in the number 1 spot, it is none other than Fisk Double Flyer. I love this team. This is a very powerful team. It leads with Fisk on the lead, Noctowl on the safe swap, and Altaria in the back to bring it home for you. And as I mentioned, this team quite powerful. It's a team that I have featured on the channel with in this form, this current form that we're seeing here, as well as with a Lantern variation, which I am also quite fond of. That is also another alternative, but this is going to be the strongest variation here, which is why it's number 1 on the list. And it's pretty straightforward. It's a classic ABB line. Let's have a look at the scorecard here. And look at that. Very powerful, strong scorecard, about as good as it gets. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. That is powerful. What a scorecard for team number 1 here. Let's have a look at these matchups. So, Fisk on the lead, always quite strong, always quite powerful. It wins lead quite a bit, unless it is faced with a counter user or a Swampert. And in that case, you're swapping into Noctowl on the safe swap, because Noctowl has the coverage on the steel types. You want to draw out that steel type, or perhaps even a newly buffed ice type, so that Altaria can roam free and wreak havoc. That's how the team is designed. So it's very simple, yet very powerful and effective for the Great League, and will get you off, set you off on the right foot to start really strong in Season 15 of Go Battle League. So not a whole lot to really hammer home. This is a very simple team, yet powerful and effective. So on fighters like Scrafty, Metacham, pseudo fighters like Vigoroth or Obstagoon, or the only one that you can stay in on DD, but you don't have to. But that's really the only counter user you can reliably beat in the 2s, which is where you will be with Fisk on the lead. And speaking of Vigoroth, that one's kind of tricky on the lead, because if you come in on Noctowl, you'll still do okay, but Vigoroth will have a energy lead, which isn't always so great, as Vigoroth can be quite spammy, but that's not really one that you'll want to stay in on. You can to pressure a shield with an EQ or really chunk some health. That might not be a bad idea, but generally you're okay just coming in with Noctowl behind a turn or so. You should be doing just fine. So that's really the one I really wanted to hammer home. Everything else you can duke it out with. In fact, the newly buffed ice types, you're gonna want to stay in there. Walrein has been buffed. Alolan Sandslash has been buffed, and so has Dugong. So we will be seeing a lot of that as the season progresses. Those are ones, obviously, that you will stay in on. You will reliably win those in the 2s. Although the newly buffed Walrein, as we can see, does have a slight edge in the 2s. But things do change quite a bit in practice, as opposed to theory and simulation, which is what we are looking at here. But historically, Fisk does just fine up against Walrein in the 2s. I wouldn't worry about that too much. but we'll see as the season goes on. But other than that, pretty straightforward, very simple team. ABB, the way to go in this modern Pokemon Go Battle League landscape. So very powerful team one. Fisk on the lead, Noctowl on the safe swap, and Altaria in the back to close strong. So that is team number one. And with all that said, let's have a look at team number two. All right, here we go. Team number two. The most powerful, balanced team that you could possibly run in Go Battle League, making yet another appearance on my top 5 best teams for the Great Leagues list. Gosh, where are we at? 3 seasons in a row now, guys? I think it's been about 3 seasons. I introduced this team to the community a couple of seasons ago, and holy smokes, has it taken off like wildfire, and that's for good reason. It is powerful. And you can see it in many variations and alignments and forms, and that's just because it's so flexible. It's a balanced team. But for this list, the most powerful alignment would be as we see it here, and that is with Noctowl on the lead, Metacham on the safe swap, and Lantern in the back. But again, you can lead with any of these 3 Pokemon and still have a lot of success. The most common variation is with the Metacham lead variation with the other 2 in the back, but I like leading with Noctowl, and we'll go over why in a minute. So let's have a look at the scorecard here, and look at that, identical to team number 1, guys. This team is no joke, and a lot of you all know because a lot of you all use it and have used it. It has taken off like wildfire, like I said, since I introduced it to the community a couple of years ago. So we get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. Again, very powerful. You don't get much better than that. Let's have a look at these matchups here. So Noctowl on the lead, I think, will be the most consistent variation. But again, the most common variation is the Metacham lead variation. You can see it with Lantern on the lead as well. Again, you can lead with any one of these 3 Pokemon and run it in any alignment and still have tons of success. But Noctowl is a very strong lead, handles the fighters and the ghost types quite effectively, as well as the Mud Boys. Most notably, in recent times, Swampert, but we've got another Mud Boy, maybe 2 if you want to count Whiscash. Whiscash did see some love with the updates. But I'm talking about Quagsire, which we will see a lot more of, and you may see it on the lead a lot, which is why we're leading with Noctowl, because Noctowl reliably beats Quagsire in the 2s. The non-Shadow. The Shadow is a little bit different. The 2s can get a little bit dicey, but you can still put in the work with Noctowl. It's very much bait dependent, as Noctowl does outpace. So we're leading Noctowl pretty straightforward. Any steel type, you're getting the heck out of there in the Metacham. Metacham, so powerful, it can often flip switch advantage for you. That is just the power of Metacham in the Open Great League. Excuse me. So one that I did want to highlight, if we see at the bottom, 4th from the bottom, we look at DD. You can do fine against DD on the lead and stay in and play that out. You do have to land that Shadow Ball. But the problem with DD on the lead, it's a little bit of a core breaker, but not too bad. Not bad at all, really. Is that it can force a shield with the threat of the Thunderbolt, because if you do tank that Thunderbolt, it will threaten to farm down with those neutral counters, whereas they can comfortably tank the Shadow Ball, and you will need a Sky Attack to land to take that out. So you can stay in and look to play out the 2s to get rid of DD, or you can pivot into Lantern and see what comes of that. That will do just fine as well. But generally, Noctowl does do quite well up against DD, so I did want to talk about that one a little bit. An Umbreon lead can be a bit tricky, and so can a Vigoroth lead. So a lot of you who played the Sunshine Cup will be very much familiar with the Noctowl Vigoroth match. You do win that in the zeros. You can look to play the zeros and see what they want to do. At the very least, you will grab a shield. And with Trevenant being pushed out of the meta, I'm warming up to the idea of safe swapping Lantern. I don't think we'll see too many grass types as a whole, to be honest. So you can use Lantern as a flex pivot in the place of Metacham as well. But it's pretty straightforward overall. Generally, steel types and Lanterns, you're getting the heck out of there. I wanted to talk about Altaria a little bit before we move on. Just play out the zeros with Altaria and then look to come in with Metacham. The reason why is because Altaria is bound to have at least one steel type in the back, possibly two. And Registeel will generally be the steel type, although you could see Fisk as well. So you want to play out the zeros. You will lose. It's quite narrow. But Altaria will be the one left standing, but not very healthy. You can come in with Metacham and actually get a nice energy lead and really look to put in work because they will have a steel type in the back. They have to, because Altaria is quite weak to obviously Charm and, of course, Ice as well. So play out the zeros with Altaria, look to come in with Medi and get ahead on energy. So that is team number 2 here. Amazing scorecard, very powerful team overall. I'm so proud of this team. It is so strong and has given a lot of you a lot of success in Go Battle League, and that absolutely warms my heart. So it is Noctowl on the lead, Metachamp on the safe swap, and Lantern in the back for team number 2. So with all that said, let's have a look at team number 3. All right, guys, we now make our way to team number 3. Another very powerful team, happens to also be an ABB team. And it leads with Toxapex on the lead, Umbreon on the safe swap, and Scrafty in the back to sweep and close the game strong. So, yeah, this is a powerful team. Poison Double Dark with Umbreon on the safe swap. Umbreon's actually a very powerful safe swap option, very much underutilized in the Open Great League. And Scrafty, one of the better closers in the entire Great League. It's actually ranked 3rd overall. Would you believe that, guys? But people just don't use it because they fear the owl. That's okay, guys. We got Toxapex on the lead for those owls. We do beat the owl in the 2s. We also dominate Water Gun Lantern, which I do anticipate we will see a lot of this season. So let's have a look at the scorecard. And not bad at all. Looking pretty good. That's a very strong scorecard for team number 3. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. Very powerful and strong scorecard for team number 3 here. So looking at the matchups here, Registeel on the lead is going to be a team effort, guys. That's not one that you'll want to stay in on. You're not going to do too well. You can just to chip with that brine, but you get to the brine right around the same time they get to a Zap Cannon. You could maybe try and play out the ones. You shield the first one, and if it doesn't lower your attack, you can look to catch the next one on Umbreon. But I think the safest and most consistent play is to just tag team it between Umbreon and Scrafty and look to play on from there. Stunfisk is a little bit different because Stunfisk cannot hit Umbreon for super effective. That is a very narrow match. It's quite close and not one you'll want to stay in on either. So Registeel and Umbreon, the safest play, Registeel and Stunfisk, safest play is to go into Umbreon on the safe swap. Same goes for the Mud Boys like Swampert, Quagsire, and Whiscash, which we'll be seeing quite a bit of play this season. I do anticipate you getting out of there on those Mud Boys. And Bastiodon, holy smokes, you got to get out of there. You can stay in a little bit. It's not too bad. It's very narrow because, of course, you can hit Basti with super effective damage, but it is triple resisting your fast move pressure, which is why Bastiodon does edge out Toxapex. If it had gotten a Scald buff like I wanted on my wish list, we wouldn't have to worry about Bastiodon, but alas, it did not happen. Perhaps for next season, we'll see. Lantern, if it's running Spark, you're out of there. If it's running Water Gun, you stay in and you dominate. So that one is very much based on what fast move Lantern is running. Noctowl, you can stay in. You do reliably beat Noctowl, no problem. You just outbulk it. Ghost types like Sableye, we're out of there. That's why we have these 2 dark types on the team. Altaria. That's one that you can stay in on because, again, Altaria is bound to have at least one steel type in the back, and Altaria is bad news for Scrafty. So that's one that you can stay in, play out the zeros. It is very much IV dependent, so it's kind of a toss-up, but that's one that you play out the zeros on. Toxapex is not going to be of much use to you, knowing that there will be a steel type in the back. So stay in, play out the zeros, and hope that your Toxapex is the one left standing. If not, you come in with Umbreon and look to get ahead on energy. But everything else in between, you're going to be doing just fine. If it's fairly neutral, you're getting out of there because you do want to draw out that fairy type with Umbreon so that Scrafty can do what it does best, and that is close the game strong. So that is team number 3. Very powerful ABB style team. Poison Double Dark. A very powerful Poison Double Dark. The best one you can run right now. And that is Toxapex on the lead, Umbreon on the safe swap, and Scrafty in the back to sweep, preferably with a shield advantage. So that is team number 3, and with all that said, let's have a look at team number 4. All right, guys, here we go. Team number 4, another very powerful team to set you off on the right foot for Season 15 of Go Battle League. It leads with Altaria on the lead, Vigoroth on the safe swap, and Registeel in the back to close the game strong. So this is a very powerful Altaria team, likely the best one you can run for Season 15. And we'll go over why, but Altaria and Registeel, that's a very powerful core for the Great League, and it is bound to give you a lot of success in Season 15. Let's have a look at the scorecard here. And look at that, not bad, identical to team number 3. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. That is quite powerful, quite strong for team number 4. Let's have a look at these matchups, and holy smokes, Altaria is doing great. Look at all these wins on the lead, all these purple X's. Those are all victories for Altaria on the lead. That's why Altaria, one of the better lead options you can run in the Open Great League. It wins a lot on the lead, but you do have to watch out for those steel types and those fairies, and we've got some steel coverage in the back. So yeah, we're safe swapping Vigoroth generally, unless you're making a hard team read, and in that case, you're going to safe swap Registeel. But Vigoroth will generally do just fine on the safe swap. But if you're seeing a team that's seeing quite a bit of usage, and you're pretty darn sure there's a Medi lurking in the back, you can comfortably safe swap Reggie as well and look to play on from there. And that's on the steel types, or if you see an A9, you're going to swap out as well, or any ice type for that matter. The ice types are going to be out in full force. Of course, we still have Shadow A9. Walrein got a buff, and so did Alolan Sandslash. So any steel or ice type, you're getting out of there in the Vigoroth, unless you're reading that there might be a Medi lurking in the back, and in that case you can go into Reggie, because Reggie can do quite well up against Medi in the zeros, and can put in some work in the ones as well. So that's what we're doing if we're reading Medi. But in general, this team is very easy and effective to run. It's quite easy. Any steel or fairy, you're out of there in the Vigoroth and looking to play on from there. That way Altaria can clear the way for Reggie to close the game strong for you. Reggie is a powerful closer because with its bulk, it performs beautifully when shields are down. So that is team number 4. Altaria on the lead, Vigoroth on the safe swap, and Registeel in the back to close the game strong. And with all that said, that is team number 4. Let's hop on to team number 5. All right, my friends, last but certainly not least, we've got team number 5, another very powerful team for the Great League in Season 15 of Go Battle League. It leads with Metacham on the lead, Fisk on the safe swap, and Registeel yet again in the back to close the game strong. I love a good Metacham lead. Metacham so powerful. Especially on the lead, and you back it up with 2 very thick and bulky steel types, protecting it from the Charmers. That's a recipe for a lot of success, my friends. So let's have a look at the scorecard. And not bad at all. Very strong scorecard for team number 5 here. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and a B for consistency. You don't get much better than that. Let's have a look at these matchups here. Metacham on the lead, we all know. A lot of us probably lead Metacham quite a bit, so we're quite comfortable with leading Meti. But as strong as it is not without its weaknesses, but the beauty of Season 15 is ghost types aren't the strongest in the Great League, guys, which means that Metacham will absolutely thrive and feast upon the Open Great League in Season 15. Its two hardest checks in the past, that being Trevenant and Sableye, have seen better days, particularly Trevenant. Trevenant got quite the nerf, which opens up Meti to be even more dominant than it was in previous seasons, and that is saying a lot because Metacham, holy smokes, was quite powerful. Arguably the best Pokemon in the entire Great League. So, yeah, leading Meti, we don't have much to really fear, to be honest. Really just Sableye. I think we'll still see quite a bit of the Sableye lead, as Sableye is a very strong lead option. Jellicent, we're going to have some problems with Jellicent. Bit of a core breaker a little bit, because with Surf, it now packs quite the punch up against G-Fisk, but you do still want to go in the G-Fisk. G-Fisk can still put in the work. It can comfortably tank a couple of those Surfs from Jellicent and still pressure shields with the threat of the Earthquake. And with Rock Slide, you have some excellent baiting potential. Nothing is resisted coming from G-Fisk up against Jellicent. So we're still safe swapping into Jelly and seeing what comes of that. Azumarill, you can stay in there a little bit, chip it with one of those hard-hitting Psychics. You might even get a defense drop. You do tank up Play Rough. I don't know how many Azumarill leads we will see this season, because in previous seasons, the most common line would be Azumarill double Ghost, and with the two powerful Ghost types seeing better days, I'm not sure how much Azumarill we will see, but it's gonna be just fine. Meti can still put in the work. You can comfortably safe swap Reggie, force them to swap. That way, when you come back in with Metacham, you will have an energy lead on Azu, and you should do just fine. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Just Azumarill and Jellicent, really. Will give Meti some problems. Even something like Altaria, you can still put in the work on, but with two very strong steel types, you don't have to stay in there. In fact, I would not stay in there. Preserve the health on Meti, go immediately into G-Fisk on Altaria. Same goes for Noctowl. You can maybe chip it with an Ice Punch or pressure a shield. That way G-Fisk coming in can put in the work, as you do need 3 Rock Slides and a fresh match with Noctowl. Getting that chip or a shield will just put G-Fisk that much further along. So that's what I would do on Noctowl. And everything else in between, quite straightforward. Team number 5, quite powerful. Definitely worth considering for Season 15 of Go Battle League. And it leads with Metacham on the lead, Stunfisk on the safe swap, and Registeel in the back to close the game strong. And that about wraps it up, guys, for my top 5 best teams for Season 15 of the Great League. I'm super excited with all of the buffs and new move updates we got. We got what we wanted and what we absolutely needed. Those were some very nice and exciting updates. And again, do not worry if we did not see any of the newly buffed Pokemon on these teams, but there's more to come, my friends, so stay tuned. Maybe later today, definitely tomorrow and the following day, we will have some coverage on the newly buffed Pokemon. I'm going to put out some team ideas for each of the newly buffed Pokemon that are meta relevant now. So don't worry, stay tuned for that. That is coming down the pipe very soon. But guys, I had a blast. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.